All right, continuing on to number 7. If you remember earlier, we had transposed the 1 to get 6x squared minus 5x minus 1, and then I brought that one down here so we'd have it to work with. Now when we factor, and there's lots of different methods of factoring. The one that we talked about in class was box method. So anybody watching on YouTube, if your teacher taught you a different method besides box method, that's fine. Use whatever one you're familiar with. I'm going to be using the box method now because that's what my class is familiar with. So first step, I'm going to go ahead and draw my box out, my 2x2 box I'm going to use to generate my factors. And I'm also going to figure out what are A, B, and C. Now, technically, there's the same things from my quadratic formula. We said that A was 6, B was negative 5, and C is negative 1. All right, guys, what do I put in my top left box?
6.
Just a 6?
6.
Oh, yeah, the whole thing, 6x squared. How about in the bottom right?
Negative 1.
Negative 1. Remember, ax squared in the top left, c in the bottom right. From there, okay, multiply them together, and we're going to take a negative 6 out on the side. And now remember, forget about the negative for a minute. Let's come up with all of our factor pairs of 6. 1 and 6. 2 and 3. Are we done? No, what else do we need? We need the flipped versions. 3 and 2, 6 and 1. All right, now for the negative. What do I do with the negative signs? Yeah, remember, half the list always has to be negative. So we're going to do the negative down the right side. If this was a positive, we would have split it here and made the entire bottom half negative to get the positive and negative versions on either side of the line. Okay, now what are we looking for? Okay, we're looking for the ones that add up to be, I'm sorry, what?
To negative 6.
Not negative 6. Negative 6 was our A times C. We're looking for our B value, ones that add to negative 5. So which of these guys add to be negative 5? Well, 2 and negative 3 is a lot of people's first guess, but 2 plus negative 3 equals negative 1. 3 plus negative 2 is equal to positive 1.
Negative 2 and negative.
Oh, 6 to negative 1.
6 plus negative 1 equals positive 5.
1 and negative 6.
1 and negative 6. Guys, if you need to, add them all together and just do that whole column there. Which one of these equals B?
The first one.
The top one. This is my pair. Okay? By the way, just so you know, to trip you up, many times teachers test to see if you know what you're doing on this step by purposely making this thing be a 6. Because with a 6, 1 and 6 and 2 and 3 can all be used to make 5s. So we use that one to test if you know what you're actually doing there. Most common mistake on this entire problem is using 2 and negative 3. Okay, what do I do with these guys now? Put them in the boxes. What goes in the top right?
1.
Just 1? We're 1x. Now what goes in the bottom left? Negative 6x. Okay? Now that I've got my box filled in, how do I come up with the actual factors?
Find the greatest common factor.
Right, greatest common factor. So let's do my first column. What's the biggest thing that goes into 6x squared and 6x? Okay, I've got a 6 in both of them
X.
and an x in both of them. How about between x and 1? Well, this one doesn't have an x, so it can't be x. Yeah, it's got to be a 1. If they don't share anything, then the common factor is always going to be 1. All right, going across. What's the biggest thing between 6x squared and x? 1x. All right. And between 6 and 1 is 1. And now I got to decide on my signs. Okay, this top one is positive because it shares a sign with this one. This one's going to be negative because it shares a sign with the one beside it. Always share signs. So, what this thing gives us is 6x plus 1 times x minus 1 equals 0. All right, now that I've factored that thing, what am I going to do to actually solve from here? Split the equation. Use that zero product property. If two things times each other equals 0, then one or both of them must equal 0. We're going to get 6x plus 1 equals 0 as my first equation, and then x minus 1 equals 0 as my second equation. I apologize for the disorganized work here. So we got this one, and we got that one. Let's solve this one, the easier one first. What do? Add 1 to both sides. Gives me x equals 1. Hey, the exact same answer I got earlier. Now for my second equation. What's, subtract 1 on both sides gives me 6x equals negative 1. And then divide by 6 gives me x equals negative 1/6. And we can check our answer. Negative 1/6 and 1. Same thing I got earlier, 1 and negative 1/6.